Posted by u/Perdegatin. So, I, 24F, was born to my mom, 40F, when she was a teenager because her parents wouldn't allow her to get a termination. I get it, she never wanted me, but still, she worked hard to give me all that I had. I'm not trying to take any of that away from her. But I grew up with broken toys, and until I was 10, I had a teddy bear my mom got for me from a dollar store. It hurt seeing all my friends have good food while I barely got a sandwich. Anyway, when I went off to college, my mom got mad at me for choosing the military program my father arranged for me to get into. She basically stopped messaging me until my graduation and advancement into the army. Turns out, she married her boyfriend, and they had a kid. They have another one on the way now. I won't lie, she's really tried to make things up with me, but I live far away now, and a phone call a day is all we can manage. But it's also all I want to manage. Following my mom on IG and Facebook, I can't help but feel resentment toward her for not telling me about her life. Her accounts are filled with pictures of her and her new family, and it's like there's no trace of me anywhere. There's even a private video on her husband's YouTube channel of them doing a house walkthrough after renovations. A cousin sent it to me from a family chat I'm not part of, and there's nothing of me in that house. Even my old room has been changed, and all my stuff is either gone or in storage somewhere. You'd never be able to tell I lived there. Then there's the fact that this new girl is getting all the things I couldn't have as a kid. I know she's getting them because my mom can afford it now, and it shouldn't bother me, but it does. Cut to yesterday, my mom phoned me and asked when I was coming back home to be with family. I pointed out that her house hasn't been my home for 6 years and that I'd be staying on base with my father. She brought up that I hadn't even met my sister yet, and I asked why she would even want me to when she erased all traces of me so she could have a do-over family. That made her really upset, and she started crying badly before ending the call. I told my fiancé about it because I felt terrible about making my mom cry, and he told me it was a jerkish move since my mom has been trying to reach out to me. My father told me to just be grateful my mom was able to provide for me and not worry about her new kids. I'm thinking they're right and that I should just apologize. Edit. Because people are getting confused and think I moved out, I want to clarify this, I didn't. I wanted to commute from home to school, but my mom cut me off and kicked me out because I was joining the military. I had no contact with her for 4 years. Only after I graduated and actually joined the army did she resume contact. I've only met her in person once in 6 years, and that was to introduce her to my boyfriend, now fiancé. She didn't come to our engagement party, even though I sent her an invite. I talk to her semi-regularly on the phone/FaceTime, but it's not the same as having a real conversation. Edit 2. I don't blame my mom for wanting a termination. It makes me hate my grandparents, who are dead, that they used me to ruin my mom's life, and that she could have had a good life if I hadn't been born. Yes, I know my birth wasn't wanted, but I absolutely do not blame her. Edit 3. I'm getting a bit tired of these edits, but I understand that I need to clarify things. My father joined the army and was overseas in Eastern Europe. He was not in my life until I was a teenager, but he always sent us money. Yes, I was inspired by him to join the army, and I am still angry at him for not being in my life. It's weird, I know. But he has apologized to me a lot. He has helped me a lot since I turned 18, and we've been working through our issues. To everyone saying go to therapy, I regularly see the therapist at the base. Update 1 day later. So, after posting in relationship_advice, I got a response telling me that this subreddit and relationships were the right places to post. When I, 24F, was 18 and went to college, my father got me into a military program, and my mom, 40F, cut me off because of it. My mom cut me off, and there was no contact during college. After I graduated and joined the army, we started talking again, but I only actually met her in person once. It was during a trip where she met my then boyfriend, who I'm now marrying. I invited her to my engagement party, but she didn't come, and all we did was talk on FaceTime for about half an hour. It didn't bother me then, but it really does now. I'm getting married next year, and 2 days ago, my mom called me and asked when I was coming home to be with family. Her saying that made me lose it for some reason, and I told her that her home was no longer mine, that I was staying with my father, and that she had her do-over family. That led to her crying before hanging up. Her crying really made me feel like absolute crap. My fiancé told me to forgive her since she seems to want to patch things up, and my father told me to be grateful for all that she did. Yesterday, my cousin, 28F, called about wedding planning. She's going to be my maid of honor, and her daughter, 4F, will be my flower girl. I'm only having one. I was going to meet my cousin and niece next week for wedding planning. Turns out my mom called my cousin earlier and learned she was flying over for the planning, so the call was an apology and a courtesy to let me know my mom was going to phone again. And she did, like minutes after I said bye to my cousin. She was begging me to let her fly out with my cousin and niece. She told me she knew that she'd hurt me and wanted to make it better, and she thinks this might be the best chance we have since I'll be having my own family after marriage. I told her I needed to think about it. I barely slept last night, and the one dream I did have was a crappy one about Marin and Siri from Hyperion. Hell, I'm literally posting this while working, so clearly my mind isn't on that either. I just don't know if I'm wrong or if she's wrong, if we're both wrong, or what. Second update 1 month later. Hey, so I have an update. The day after I posted, I FaceTimed my mom so we could talk. Before we even got to talk, my little sister grabbed the phone and tossed it. So, I had to FaceTime back the day after. When my mom asked if she could come with my cousin and niece, I told her straight up that I didn't want her coming with my cousin. It made me feel bad because I could tell my mom was upset but trying to hide it. She asked if we could meet at all before the wedding week, and I felt really guilty, so I said I had time off the weekend of the 14th. She said she didn't want to leave her family alone since her husband has a business getaway at that time, but I told her that's the only time I had to give. I said she could choose to come and let me know or stay home. She said she'd think about it and also let my cousin take whatever pictures of me I wanted. Well, my cousin and niece came for wedding planning, and holy crap, she brought albums and portraits and everything. My cousin admitted that she brought most of it since my mom still hadn't put anything up, not even the portrait of me in uniform. Honestly, I cried in my cousin's arms for like half an hour because of that. I only laughed when her daughter pointed out how silly I looked crying since I'm a soldier. I was still in uniform. We spent that entire day making the slideshow and choosing which photos to have on display. The rest I put in storage where they'll stay until my place is ready. Honestly, the rest of the week went great, and we barely talked about my mom. The one time we did, my cousin pointed out that my mom wanted my sister to be a flower girl but was never going to ask since she was ashamed that I didn't even know her. After my cousin left, my mom phoned and said she'd be able to come this upcoming weekend, so tomorrow, because her husband's getaway got cancelled because of, current events. I'm feeling nervous, scared, excited, and even angry. I've talked about this mostly with my fiancé and my therapist on base, but since I posted here, I thought I'd see what advice you guys have for when I meet her. So yeah, that's where it is now. Not better, not worse, and, well, I don't know. Third update 2 weeks later. Well, I don't know where I stand. I've rewritten this mess like 8 times now, just trying to get it all out in a way that makes sense and gets rid of all my typos. So sorry for it being too long and for the typos I missed. I did joke about meeting my mom in uniform, but I ended up working late, and was in uniform that day, Friday, and had to go like that anyway. I don't know. I tried to remember what my therapist said and what you guys wrote, but it's like the moment I saw my mom sitting at the restaurant table, all of it just disappeared. I didn't push her back when she hugged me, honestly, I hugged her so tight like we used to before I left, and that's all I could remember. We ordered food, but we barely ate. Whenever I wanted to yell, I stuffed food in my mouth. The first thing I said when we sat down was to bluntly ask why she hated me joining the military so much that she just cut me out and acted like I didn't exist. My mom kind of blanched or something and used ordering as an excuse not to answer, so I asked again and added that if she was so scared I'd die, she should have spent more time with me. She told me her uncle fought in the Persian Gulf War when she was a kid, and when he came back, he abused her. It was like the uncle she loved died while her parents did nothing to stop him, so my dad and then me joining was like a betrayal because she got it so wrapped up in her head that there was so much debt that, one way or another, we'd die. I wanted to cry at that point, so I just stuffed more food in my mouth. When I could talk, I told my mom I effing hate her parents for what they did to us, and it feels like she doesn't love me anymore. She said she does love me and that I'm still her baby, and I said if that were true, she would at least have put up pictures of me in the house. I said that was my home and I thought I'd inherit it like she did, but it's clearly not mine anymore and won't ever be again since she has a new family I've never met. I pointed to her pregnant belly and said that's the closest I've been to her new life. Then I used the do-over line again and said it's like her new family is her trying to do it right because she got it wrong with me, that I became a soldier, and it's like she hates me. Honestly, if tears and water weren't running down my face and out my nose, then she was going to cry. I asked why I wasn't good enough to invite to her wedding, to ask to help with her pregnancy, or to effing give the house new paint. Other people were looking then, and I guess I felt embarrassed, so I just said I wanted to go. My mom asked me to go up to her room so we could keep talking. I didn't want to drive, I didn't feel like I could, so I agreed. In her room, we sat down on the bed and I just broke down. I don't really remember what I said, but some things I can recall. I missed you so much and you replaced me, you didn't even come see me get engaged, and I spent so many days wishing we could just cuddle, but you didn't even phone. I don't know, I became a sobbing, hyperventilating mess with a headache. My superior officers would have loved to see that, and my mom just made me drink water, then lay my head down in her lap, and rubbed my head because I kept crying. I cried until I fell asleep on her lap. I woke up hours later, into the night, and my mom was still awake, just singing my childhood Macedonian lullaby to me and running her hand through my hair. She'd shifted me onto a pillow. I don't know, I just pretended to still be asleep because I liked that, and of course, I fell asleep again. When I woke up in the morning, I was hugging her, cuddling like we used to. It felt so good, but it made me so mad and sad at the same time. So, of course, I got tears again. I swear I cry way too much. I just wanted to enjoy it, I guess, so we stayed like that until she told me she knew I was awake. That day, Saturday, went better. I don't know, we didn't talk about Friday at all and just spent it all together from breakfast to dinner, talking about stuff. I won't lie, it felt good, like she was really my mom again. After dinner, we went back to her room, and she asked if I wanted to talk again. I said we needed to and I'd try my best not to cry. Well, we talked, and my mom admitted she was wrong to cut me off and that she wished she never did. She said it was a mistake not to involve me in her wedding or pregnancy, thought she was punishing me, and knows now she really hurt me and can't make it up to me. About the pictures, she admitted that even though we were talking again, she didn't put them up because it was too triggering. For my engagement, she said she didn't come because my sister wasn't medically cleared to fly after an ear infection, and she didn't want to leave her. Thankfully, I didn't cry, so I asked why she wanted me to go home. She said she realized once I got married and had my own kids, there'd be no way we'd be close again, and she didn't want that, which is exactly what I thought it was. I said I don't know if I can ever forgive her. I don't know. I didn't really say anything after that. I didn't know what to say. I didn't feel mad or sad, I just felt empty. So much could have been avoided if we just talked. Just reading this, I feel the same way, and I keep listening to a loner song that doesn't make me feel better, but it's letting me write. I thought about leaving, but I stayed, brushed, and went to sleep hugging my mom because I don't know if I'll ever get to again. I dropped her off at the airport the morning after, Sunday, but we didn't really talk, just said our goodbyes. I don't know what to think or say about what she said, I just feel so cold about it. I've been trying to talk about it with my therapist, but with a wedding less than a month away, I don't know, I keep talking about that instead. As for why I'm updating, maybe because you guys have been so supportive of me so far, I figured I'd hear what you have to say about all of this and if you have any more advice to give. Fourth update 3.5 months later. I'm so sorry about the lengthy post. I honestly wasn't even planning on making another one, but I'm sick and stuck in bed with nothing to do, so I figured I might as well. I'll give a summary here, but there was no way I could make this short. Before you read, I just want to say that this is probably my last post here. I want to thank everyone who commented on my past posts, everyone who said kind things, and especially the people in this subreddit for being so helpful. You might not see me again after this, but I just want you to know that you've really helped me. The first thing is that I did end up talking to my therapist about meeting my mom and how cold I felt afterward. The first thing my therapist asked was if there was anything I did like about her visit. I admitted that I liked how, when I had my breakdown, she calmed me down, got me to sleep, ended up cuddling with me, and how the Saturday we spent together felt like it used to. It was like I got my mom back for a day, not whoever she is now. My therapist asked if I felt anything beyond the coldness, and I admitted that I hated my grandparents even more than before because they let my mom's uncle abuse her. Based on when the Persian Gulf War ended, she would have been only 10 or 11 when it started. My therapist then asked if I was trying to blame my grandparents instead of my mom, and I admitted I didn't know. We ended up focusing on why I feel so protective of my mom after everything. My therapist gave me a recommendation for a trauma specialist to conduct virtual sessions between my mom and me, in addition to my individual ones, if my mom was okay with it. I called her that night, and she agreed right away. She said I was right and that she needed it to fix us. We only had 3 sessions together before my wedding, but we resumed after my honeymoon. I think they've been productive overall, even if they've also been rage-inducing and weird. Sometimes I want to punch a wall, but sometimes I just wish I could hug my mom. A week before my wedding, my mom flew in with her family and asked if I could spare an hour to meet with her alone. I had time that night, so we met at a 24/7 place, like a local Denny's. When I hugged her, it wasn't like the last time we met. It felt different, warm, because I knew I wasn't going to explode afterward. My mom said she had a few gifts for me, and while she wasn't sure how much they'd mean, they were the best she could give. She also said she had typical wedding gifts but felt she needed to give these ones to me alone. The first gift was a really old book of Macedonian lullabies, the one she used to sing to me. She said she brought it because I'd mentioned in therapy that I was taking Macedonian classes and wanted me to have it so I could sing them to my kids one day, like she sang them to me. She wanted the lullabies to stay special between us because, apparently, they didn't work on my sister, who's more interested in TV. The second gift meant the most to me, even though it's kind of weird, really old drafts of legal documents to put my name on her house so it would belong to just her and me. She said she had planned to do it years ago as a reward if I didn't join the army but realized she should have done it anyway. What I'd said about inheriting the house made her realize she couldn't take more of it away from me. She told me that after my honeymoon, we'd draft new documents, but if I didn't want it like that, she'd sell it to me when her family moves out. Apparently, they've been thinking about it. I said we'd figure it out. There are a lot of legal details to work through, obviously, but it's a gift I didn't know I wanted. As a teenager, I thought whoever I married would move there with me and my mom, and I'd eventually get the house, like she got it. But I never realized how much I wanted my name on that paper, to officially say it's mine. It makes it feel like I haven't been erased from it. My mom has been urging me to start the process and have a virtual meeting with lawyers for estate planning, but I'm too sick right now. I might not even do it, but the fact that she's so willing matters to me. The last gift was a box of matches and pictures of my grandparents. They were copies because my uncle wouldn't give her the originals. She noticed during our sessions how angry I got when she mentioned them and thought I'd like to destroy the pictures with her. I really wanted to have one of those moments where we go to the top of a building and throw the burning pictures down dramatically, but it wasn't like that. We just burned them outside, but I did like it. As for my wedding day, it went perfectly. We didn't have an official military ceremony, but it was stylized like one. Without giving too much away, to avoid doxing myself, I was able to wear part of my uniform with my dress. Yes, I made sure it was allowed. My cousin looked beautiful as my maid of honor and her daughter was perfect. I know I shouldn't say this, but she's my sweetest niece. I couldn't imagine anyone else in those roles. Everything about the ceremony and reception went great. Therapy has helped me a lot because I feel like I understand my mom more, and she gets why cutting me off hurt me so much. I don't want to get into too much detail, but I do want to share a few parts. My therapist actually recommended that I talk to people on Reddit for perspective and validation after I mentioned I'd posted here. That's why I feel like opening up. I'll admit I don't like it when we focus on my mom's childhood because it makes me so angry. It's hard to type, but my mom's abuse by her uncle was so bad that she got pregnant at 13. My grandparents beat her so badly for it that she miscarried. Just thinking about that makes me furious. I wish they were still alive so I could kill them for what they did to her. They ruined us. They hurt my mom so much. They were evil. Thinking about how my mom cries over it makes me want to fly to her just to hug her. The worst part is that my mom admitted my breakdown reminded her of how she would cry, and it finally hit her how much she hurt me. She said she felt like she was as bad as her parents. She said she regretted trying to punish me by excluding me because punishment is supposed to teach lessons, not cause the kind of hurt she caused me. She said she hated that it took her so long to realize it and didn't expect forgiveness. My mind keeps going back to her saying she felt like she was as bad as her parents. As bad as cutting me off was, she's nothing like them. They were monsters who ruined my mom's life. We could have been so much happier if they were good people. It's hard to type about all this, but I feel like I need to because I'm just so angry. Maybe that's why my therapist recommended it. We've talked a lot about why my pictures were triggering for my mom. She said it was because she got so wrapped up in how the military changed her best uncle into something evil that she became convinced I'd die, like my dad before me. During the remodel, she put the photos away because looking at them made her imagine me dying in a terrible way, even though phoning or FaceTiming me felt different. She said she hasn't put up any of my photos yet, but I think she's lying and planning to surprise me. My cousin visited her recently and said my mom put my high school graduation portrait above the fireplace. On the other hand, focusing on my childhood has helped me process why I hated being poor. Recently, we concluded that blaming my mom for our poverty at the time made me more protective of her while still wanting her protection. We were never poor because we had each other. My therapist helped me understand that even though I'm educated, have a good job, and a great future, I've still felt poor because I've been missing the thing that once mattered most. My mom cutting me off was like emotional poverty. When she visited, my cuddling, pretending to be asleep to hear her lullabies, and hugging her to sleep were just me reaching out for her protection again. I realized I felt cold because I don't know if I can forgive my mom, and that could have been the last time I had any of that with her. In therapy, we also talked about my mom's pregnancy and how different raising my sister is compared to me. It's messed up to say, but it felt good to hear my mom admit that she and my sister don't have the bond we had. She said I was a better baby and hopes her new baby will be like I was. She admitted my do-over family comment hurt her because she'd never thought about it like that, but now she can't deny it. She also said that when she looks at my sister, she sees how much she looks like my grandma, But when she looks at me, she still sees the baby I was. Maybe it's her protective instinct, but hearing her say she felt like a better parent to me, even though we had less, felt off to me. From what I've seen, she seems like a better mom now. Maybe she doesn't feel it, but she looks it. My therapist suggested it could be because my mom wants to go back in time or because she's still getting used to having a husband to help. I know you're wondering if I've forgiven her, and the truth is, I haven't. I appreciate the therapy and love the gifts, but I still don't know if I can forgive my mom. I finally forgave my dad just before my wedding, and it took him 6 years to earn that. I hope I'll reach a place where I can forgive her. If things keep going as they are, I think I will. It's not going to be like it was when I was a teenager, but it never is for anyone. At least we're close enough now that if I ever need to cry and cuddle and my husband isn't around, I think she'd be there for me. If you read all this, thank you. You have no idea how much these posts have meant to me.